Hey, how you going? Today I'm going to be finishing or working on this hidden tang knife, and I'll show you how to do the handle. There doesn't seem to be a great number of videos online doing detailed information on how to do it. So, or how I do it anyway. There's plenty of ways to do it, and the way I show you isn't necessarily the best way. It's just the best way I currently know how to. Now this is going to be a utility hunter, and it's going to have a pin through the handle. So I'll show you how to line it up, shape out the handle, fit the guard, which I've started doing, but as you can see it's not fitting just yet. And that's pretty much it. I've already gone to the trouble of making the knife ahead of time, and I'm assuming if you're watching this you already know the basics on how to actually make a knife. Okay, this one was forged and edge quenched, little bit of a temper line or hamon, but nothing too flash. Okay, it's 1075 carbon steel. You can see it, but I won't really find out how good it is until I etch it. But the edge as it is around 56 to 58, and this up here is around the 50 RC. Okay, so there is definitely a difference. I'm just not sure how sharp the transition between the two hardnesses is, and that's what creates your temper line or hamon. So let's go. I suppose what I'll start off with now is, while I haven't finished fitting this up, I have chosen the front, and it's going to be this side. I know that because of this line, and the arrow here, that's the side pointing to where I need to remove the material, because I've removed too much material on this side. So when I'm filing down to increase the width to fit on the tang, I'll file down towards this arrow, so I even it up on both sides. And you can see I've got that little arrow there, so I know which way to go on, regardless of which side I'm filing. Now I'll fit that up and I'll fix up the handle. Now, one thing you want to go and invest in or make is a piece of timber like this. Okay, mine's just made out of pine. You can make it out of whatever you want, and you've got to cut a slit through it. So when you're fitting your guard, this is how you get those really tight fits that can slide over your tang, and it can also slide over the blade to knock it off. So grab yourself your hammer, slide it down. Now I would recommend you cover your blade with masking tape. This isn't ideal, uncovered, but I've run out, so. And give it some taps. And we haven't really gone anywhere, so I know there's still a bit of material to take off. When you've got it just right, you should be able to just tap it down that last little bit, but I know it's got a bit of a taper there, so I thought I had it just wide enough, but looks like there's a tiny little corner up in there that's still got contact. So I'll trim that off and should be able to drive it all the way home. Okay, so now we polish up the face of our guard. I've just taken this to 320 grit, I've also established I'm out of 400 grit and 600 grit and can only jump to 800, so I'll have to fix that up. But what we do have to remember is this is brass, okay? It's a lot softer than steel, so we can get a lot more leeway with a buffing wheel. Now, I won't even bother telling you what this compound is. It's pretty average, bought it from Bunnings. In Australia, it seems to be so much harder to find decent gear in Australia than it does for a lot of you blokes in the US. But, well, yeah, so we just have to make do with what we can find. I do need to buy some better compound though, so I'll be looking at buying that offline somewhere. Now, this will be good enough for the brass. You can see what it looks like there. Make sure you can hear me first. But hopefully you can see what that brass looks like there so far. You can see there's a few scratches on it, and we'll just see what it looks like after this. Now there's a couple of deep scratches in there, but you should be able to clearly see, actually, yeah, you can see there's actually a mirror polish on that now, which wasn't there before. So there's still a couple of scratches I can see with the naked eye, just around here, just following my thumbnail there. But there's not much work in taking them out at all, but you should be able to see that that is reflecting, and yeah, it's just tenfold better than what it was before. Right, so as you can probably see, I've gone ahead and made a bit more mess on my bench top. I've also gotten some masking tape and covered the blade. Really don't want to scratch it. Now, I've taken the bolster off. You can probably see just there, it's a pretty tight fit. It's pushing flush up against the metal of the knife on both ends. Not as much on this end, but still a little bit just there. And that is what we want. We want it to have contact. Now, my handle, or my G10 block, you can see I've mapped out the tang just there, and that's the rough shape of the handle there that I'm after. But I've come up 5mm short for what I believe is an acceptable handle length. So I got a little bit creative, and I'm going to put a little spacer just there. Okay, now I've already glued this up. It's made with, it starts off with some toxic green or lime green G10 and some yellow G10, a slither of copper, and then yellow G10 and green G10. That's going to go smack bang right there. I think that should look pretty good, and ideally it'll be set off with that polished brass bolster right up the top. So it's nothing huge, but gives it a little more character and gives me that little bit of extra length in the handle that I'm after. Okay, like, it can get away with it, but I want it to be just a fraction longer. Now, the reason we don't glue this together to this one just yet is because, one, it's got metal in it, and two, the tools that I've got to scrape out means that that extra 5mm I can gather of working and scraping out material in here to fit the tang is going to make it easier in the long run, okay, rather than adding that on and then I've got to scrape in. I've got another 5mm to reach back into the tang. Okay, if you don't understand what I mean, I don't know how do I put it. When I drill in, I don't have to drill into that 5mm. I can take that away and I'm only having to drill into this block rather than an extra 5mm on top of it. And when I shape this, because we want it really tight fitting on the handle, on the tang, okay, not much space, it allows me to make really precise filings in here, especially with the copper, so I'm not having to oversize it any more than I have to fit it on the tang. Okay, now this part's pretty self-explanatory. I just sat the bolster over the top of my spacer and reached in with a little scribe, or a file in my case, because my scribe's a little too wide, and scratched the outline. Now that gives me the ability to make the center of where to drill, and then to start opening it with files so it can fit up the tang of my knife. Okay, now right here what you want to do is make sure everything's lined up. Okay, so I'm starting off with a 1/8 drill bit, and you can't see the texture on here I don't think, but I've lined it up with the outline of the tang I've done, and I'm going in as straight as possible following that, and then I'll open it out with a 6mm drill bit, which I can drill right down to the bottom of where the tang's going to go. Then all I've got to do is use some scrapers and files, needle files, and open this out. You can see how I've got this clamped. It's pushing in, the tip's protected by that little bit of rubber, maybe a bit too thin. I'll have to upgrade that later on. But you can see I've got glue coming out the top here. That's good, I can wipe that away, and a little bit of glue coming out the top up here. So I'll wipe away that excess, and I'm done for the night. Okay, so now we have everything lined up. Assuming we've marked out where our tang is, if we drill down through the centre of it, we should drill through the tang. So you better hope you did it right, because you can't undrill a hole. Now, I'm pretty confident. I've only missed one of all the knives, and that was by the barest of margins, but it only has to be by the barest of margins. So let's see how we go. One thing I'll point out, you probably won't be able to pick it up in the camera, but if you're unsure if you've hit the tang or not, one way to do it is to shine it up to the light, and when you've drilled through, you should see a silver ring in the middle, and that's obviously the steel that you've drilled through. So I can see it with the naked eye. Not sure if you can see it in there with the camera, but it is there. As always, people, please wear your PPE.